Recently, the fan base made a video ranking every 2D Sonic game, so I decided, hey, since I haven't ever played the Sonic Advance games, or Sonic Mania, Sonic Generations 3DS, or Sonic Pocket Adventure, or Sonic Game Installs, or Sonic Chaos, basically most of the older handheld 2D games, I decided to rank the classic 2D games in the franchise. The 5 classic games I'll talk about are Sonic 1, 2, 3, CD, and Knuckles. So here's my personal ranking of these games. This video is going to be based off of how fun the games are and if they have any redeeming qualities that make it different from the other games. So, let's get started. 5. Sonic the Hedgehog. Of course, being the first game in the franchise, the game of course has one of the best zones in history. I'm of course talking about Green Hill Zone. This game doesn't have the spin dash, but that's alright. It's a classic of course, and has some absolute amazing music. But one of the few zones I don't like are the Emerald and Labyrinth Zone. Emerald Zone is really annoying because most of the time you're literally just running across this brick on top of lava, and it's honestly kind of slow paced. Which is weird because this is a game where you're supposed to be going fast most of the time. Same thing goes for Labyrinth Zone, like it's slow paced and most of it is in water. Something that's pretty unique about this game is that most people never decide to play the older games, and they mostly only play the newer ones. But with this game, that's not really the case because this game has actually been re-released multiple times. So it's actually kind of uncommon to find somebody who hasn't played this game. Because like I said before, it's been ported over 30 times across the world. So if you haven't played this game, that's kind of rare because it's on some platforms that most people have, like mobile, and I'm not sure about PC, but it's pretty easy to find an emulator for it. But it is the first game, so if you don't think it's particularly the best in the franchise, then that's probably because they didn't have much to do with it because, well, it was the first installment in the whole franchise. 4. Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Somehow this game has actually been re-released even more times than Sonic 1 has. If I remember correctly, this game has been re-released a little over 60 times. This game introduced a spin dash, and ever since, it's been a staple to most of the games in the franchise after this one was released. In some of the modern games, you just have some regular dash, like modern Sonic and Sonic Generations, or I think even Sonic Unleashed. I've played the game before. Got a little far. I don't remember having it, but it might have been in the game. I'm not sure because I played the game in like December. I don't know. This game actually has a good final boss. The music is pretty good, but I don't think it's quite as good as the original. Emerald Hill is a very good continuation of Green Hill Zone from the first game, of course. And this game is actually pretty fast-paced most of the time, like a Sonic game is supposed to be. Calico Planet is a great zone with lots of branching paths, and speaking of paths, this game has larger levels in my opinion, which results in the game having more routes. So if you get stuck at this one section, then you can progress into a second route and see if that fixes your issue. Sonic 1 was a little more secretive, but the third game does have plenty of secrets. This game is always fun to play. But my only issue about the game is in co-op, for some reason Tails just falls back on the screen and can just disappear. And honestly, when he's a computer on the regular mode, he's not that useful, honestly. And like Sonic 1, this is another one of those retro games that most Sonic fans have definitely played because, well, it has just a large amount of ports. 3. Sonic CD. Most Sega CD games aren't appreciated, and this is one of the games that's actually more memorable to the console generation. But this game has a cool method where you can go to the past or the future. If you get enough speed and start running or moving in general somewhere, this game is also considered the most replayable games in the franchise. Like seriously, you can go back to the game unless you're playing Stardust Speedway. It's likely going to be very fun. If you like the game to begin with, most people don't appreciate that this game's method of being able to go to the past or future. And this game also has a new character into the franchise, and of course introduced Amy Rose, which like the spin dash in Sonic 2 has been a staple to the franchise in basically every other Sonic game after this one. The good pass is when you travel back in time, and it sometimes has a lack of enemies, most of the time not, but sometimes it does. So if you're having troubles then you can just try to time trial, and then that might fix your problem. This game also has another variant of Green Hill, and what I mean by that is something that looks very similar, but not quite as similar as Emerald Hill. And that zone is, of course, Palm Tree Panic. This zone's music is completely amazing, but Soldier Speeder can be very annoying at times, just completely because sometimes it'll just waste your time and you just need to find an exit miles away. But this is a really underrated Sonic game and has some of the best level design Sonic has to offer. So which one's better, Sonic 3 or Sonic & Knuckles? I'm gonna put Sonic 3 at number 2. This game did, of course, introduce another staple of the franchise, that of course being Knuckles. And the game has some great and useful power-ups. This doesn't matter at all really, but for the unnecessary knowledge, this was the first game in the franchise for Sonic to be dark blue. And this is finally going to be the really first game for, I'm surprised I'm saying this, but this is the first game in the franchise for you to have a save file. Yeah, I don't know why the heck it took so long for this, but the other, I want to say 3 games in the franchise did not have save files for some reason. I think it's better to have a save file because if you're just required to finish the whole game in one sitting, you're probably not going to have all the time unless you're playing the mobile version that has a save file, but back then when the mobile one didn't exist. But you can also choose some Sonic and Tails, but I feel better that it's not that Tails still isn't really that useful, so they didn't improve that from Sonic 2, but I don't find that to be a big deal. The game has some good bosses, I just don't feel that the difficulty progression is the best with some of the bosses. Like the first Eggman boss was very annoying for me to deal with, but the bosses next wasn't really that hard. But it's still one of the best 2D games in the franchise, and it has some really cool things to offer. One, Sonic & Knuckles. This is very similar in nature to Sonic 3. This game doesn't have Tails as a selectable character, but instead we have Knuckles. I feel that would have been better if we had Tails in the game, because I think that Tails is better than Knuckles, because Tails can actually fly. But, I digress, because Knuckles is a good character. Knuckles can hover in the air and climb on walls. Sonic works exactly the same, but that's fine because there really wasn't any improvements that were needed with them. The game, like most other Sonic titles, has very good and well-made music. The game does have some very annoying enemy placements sometimes, but they're not that bad if you know what you're doing. And the game does have a few glitches here and there, but they're not completely obnoxious, like, I want to say Sonic 06. But my only gripe with this game is that you can't play as Tails. Well, like I said earlier, you can play as Knuckles, so I guess that fills up the gap, but I do think that Tails is better. But I do still find the game is better than the 4 others because the level design and bosses are the best of the 4. And that's, of course, the most important part about video games. And also, the title intro, you guys for watching the video. If you enjoyed, leave a comment. And if you really enjoyed, then I'll watch another on screen. So, peace.